Winter 2026 anime. So we're about a month out from the start of the next season of anime. There are a couple new anime that look promising, but for the most part, this season is mostly just big returning titles like Frieren, Hell's Paradise, Juju Kaisen, Chain Soldier, Oshino Ko, Fire Force, Fate/Strange. I don't know if this is a returning anime. I assume so because it's a part of Fate, I think. Kaguya-sama, Undead Unlock, My Hero Vigilantes, Trigun, Golden Kamui Final. Holy, I can't believe this is the end of Sugimoto, and I'm not caught up at all. Test Time for Torture Princess, Blue Orchestra, Hell Teacher, Blue Mi Buro. That is 16 returning anime. You know when a guy looks at a girl at the gym and they think you're a creep for it? Well, the main man, Arisu, a rich kid, very important, was having a really bad day and he just wanted to find his peace, his solace, in his favorite live streamer Apollo, only to find out they graduated. Now normal people would be sad, not Arisu. He finds out where they go to school, transfers to the school to find this Apollo. After transferring, he finds out Apollo could be any one of these 4 girls. The girls, don't like his personality. You know, the whole finding out where they go to school and transferring there to find them. But on the other hand, he's loaded, like Scrooge McDuck loaded, and these girls have big dreams. Big dreams require big money. Big money just walked through their club room doors. So they compromise. And that's the Tune in the Midnight Heart. It is a harem anime. Who would have guessed? Now, I understand the CGI monster was freaking disgusting in a really bad way, but the setting of enslaved heroes fighting an unending horde of monsters, and if they die, they just get revived to fight for all of eternity, is at least a little interesting, right? Based solely on the trailer, they really only use CGI on the monsters, and everything else really reminds me of the Mashoko Tensei animation. The story is about Xylo Farbarts, the goddess killer, a condemned hero of the penal hero unit of the 9004, and this is the story of him meeting a new goddess, the Lolly of the Box, creating the sparks of rebellion to free all heroes. Okay, bye. There was a cute girl in the heroes party, so I tried confessing to her. It's a classic tale of when you get isekai'd and become a demon, you then go through your edgelord power fantasy arc to slap the heroes party for the demon lord, but then falls in love with the party's healer, a priestess, because she is in fact your type, no matter how much you tell yourself that you want a goth mommy. So you abandon demon lord's army to be with her. Don't you hate it when a hot priestess makes you betray your lord? Jack of all trades, master of none is another fantasy anime where the protagonist can be identified by him being betrayed and kicked out of his party for being an enchanter that, get this, is a jack of all trades. Why couldn't we just get an anime where they are kicked out normally because they really just suck at adventuring? Why is everything gotta be so edgelordy? Also, you might think, is that all to the plot? And I'm going to surprise you and say yes. Noble Reincarnation is the anime where you, a villager, is born exceedingly normal, so you get next lifed because of that. Your next life is an OP prince of a nation, and you use as an excuse to train, so then you can protect your family. If you're into the OP fantasy setting, I see no reason why this shouldn't be on your list of isekai slop, even though it's not isekai. Okay, bye. Hell mode. The hardcore gamer dominates in another world with the garbage balancing. Is there really a need for me to read the description? You guys already know what's gonna happen already. I think there's only like one more slop anime this season, but it's far down the list, so easygoing territory defense by the optimistic lord. Production magic turns a nameless village into the strongest fortified city is the title of the anime, so there's no need for a description. What I will say is, even though it's an OP main character city building anime, it looks good enough for me to at least give it a chance. So Kunon the Sorcerer Kenshi is about a blind boy learning magic so then he can create new eyes with magic. Solely based on the trailer, the animation seems just good. Not great, and it's definitely not bad, it's just good. It seems very wholesome, meaning not harem. I have a lot of hope for it. It's going to be a pretty basic story probably, but this one has a chance to be alright. you and I are polar opposites. This is your seasonal garu rom-com anime. The main duo is the stoic, not caring about appearances Yasuke, Tani, and Suzuki, a super in-love, anxious girl that is having a really hard time confessing to Yasuke. The animation seems very old school, a little more goofy and cute. Good animation instead of trying to be like Flagrant Flower with bad animation. What can I say? It's your seasonal good rom-com. The villainess is adored by the prince of the neighbor kingdom. This is an isekai into an otome game as the villainous anime. This is as shoujo can get. We go through the whole 9 yards with the OG heroine and prince falling in love, leading to the banishing of the villainess. But during that very same party, the neighboring prince is there and he comes in and takes her away because she's been banished now. Animation looks fine. Story is probably just as fine. Okay, bye. You can't be in a rom-com with your childhood friends. So this is a harem rom-com between 3 childhood friends. The description clearly only lists the 3 childhood friends, but we can clearly tell that there are 5 people in this harem anime. Yu is the main character that is now looking at his childhood friends with lustful eyes now that they're in high school. Their words, not mine. The more I read the description, it just sounds more and more gooner coded. So if you're a gooner that likes rom-com, go for it, I guess. The Holy Grail of Eris is a story that starts off very normal with the main character getting set up for a crime she didn't commit, leading her to be executed, I think. Then the ghost of a noble lady, Scarlet, that was also betrayed and executed in the past, strikes a deal with our main character to save her. But in exchange, she now has to help the ghost take revenge on everyone that betrayed her 10 years ago. Based on what I see online, this is not a Yuri story. Instead, it seems like it's a very complicated mystery anime centered around Scarlet's revenge plot. This is a potential dark horse of this season. In the Clear Moonlit Dusk is a romance shoujo anime about a girl that has slightly more masculine features to her. Like, she's tall, has short hair, less blessed in the bosom.
I keep all my important papers in my bosom.
Making those around her not view her as the girl she is. However, this is a romance shoujo anime, so her senpai, Ichimura, does see her as the girl she is. This is the story of how Yoi will navigate this new relationship she now has with her prince Ichimura. Reincarnated as a dragon hatchling is exactly what you think it is. I don't think it's going to be like slime in any way in quality, but at the very least, there's no way it could be worse than being reincarnated as a vending machine. And for those that want to know more, he is born as a dragon, struggles to survive, gets picked up by some girls. Tamon's B-side, Kinoshita Yutage, is a high school girl that also works as a housekeeper, partly or mostly because that is how she funds her devotion to her favorite idol, Fukuhara Tamon. During one of her typical housekeeping jobs, she is assigned to Tamon's house and discovers that he is nothing like his on-stage persona, but is actually a complete boy failure. Because yes, this is a shoujo rom-com where the hardworking girl finds and fixes her precious boy failure. And it looks pretty solid. Wash It All Away is a humble story about Wakana Kinme, a girl that has no memory of her past. So for the past 2 years, she has been running a laundry service in the seaside town of Atami, where she's well loved by the residents and is admired because of her devotion to her trade. This, in all honesty, looks really good to me. It seems like a really chill slice of life with very subtle comedy and romance to it. I'm really excited for this one. Kaya-chan isn't scary. It is Dark Gathering without the yandere that I would let ruin my life. Like in Dark Gathering, it's a little girl that kills all sorts of ghosts and demons. This time she's even younger at 5 years of age and doesn't have a coward of a sidekick, but instead has a whole occult club's worth of people. So maybe 3 people. This is probably my top dark horse for this season, by far. I have high hopes for this one. Dark Moon, The Blood Altar is an enemies to lovers story, probably, with a bunch of pretty boy vampires and a vampire hunter named Soha. Well, at the very least, I think she's a hunter. She could very well be just a plain girl that hates vampires. Even though this is not labeled as a romance reverse harem, the description says, and I quote, "The boys find themselves irresistibly drawn to her." So there's really no way this isn't a reverse harem situation, right? Okay, bye. The Case Book of Arne, not to be confused with the Case Study of Vanitas, is a story about a vampire detective and a normal, well, as normal as one can be, girl that loves vampires. One night, in a mysterious city where non-humans live, Lin encounters Arne, the so-called worst in the city, and they together solve mysteries together, like murders. The animation seems fine, however this is a game adaptation and those don't always go so well sometimes, so Journal with Witch is an anime about family. Makio Kudai, a reclusive novelist that is now the guardian of her niece that has just lost her mom and dad in a car accident. Asa Takumi is the 15-year-old niece that is stricken with grief and has a strong personality that now has to live with her aunt that is also having a hard time with the loss of her sister and brother-in-law. This is the story of how an aunt and niece navigate the grief of losing family while also learning how to live with one another despite their personality difficulties. Thank you for listening to this. This is my first long form video and it was about as scuff can be, but at least I finished it eventually. I love you guys all, but not too much, okay?
大欅を越え4コーナーへ。さあいよいよ直線だ。どのタイミングで誰が仕掛けるのか。まだ差がある。ここから先頭を捉える子は出てくるのか。オグリキャップ花を進む。さあ最終コーナーを曲がって最後の直線コースに入ったオグリキャップ。強い、強すぎる。